So, kind of give you a little background with I Am Recovery. That's the company that is sponsoring this event. It's where I work for. I'm the clinical director there. We really seek to help in transitional care. That's kind of our model. I have a background in residential treatment where I worked there for a few years, and I didn't like how, at least where I was at, was handling transitional care. It was really frustrating to watch people leave and then not have really solid support for the next year of their recovery. Some people do really well on their own, but some people need a little more. So a piece of where my heart is at is not seeing people relapse and not seeing people die. Like that's a big piece, and no one wants that. So I Am Recovery is built around that. That's what we're here for, and we also want to get out in the community and help people understand the need for treatment and care and different modalities to help people. This event isn't just about recovery, it's about community sources and resources, and that's why we're going to have more events like this, by the way, just to plug a couple of them going down the road. In June we'll have another event, and then in August we have a big event with the Highland Fling. I don't know if anyone's heard of Cactus Jack. He's an awesome dude, musician, artist. He's coming out with a 5-part documentary on Netflix. He's agreed to be our speaker in that event. Way cool dude. You guys will love him. Got a great story in addiction recovery as well. So just kind of get started here. Big piece here is looking at stigma. Would you mind flipping the slide for me? So this picture might look familiar to some people in the room. What does it look like? Anyone have any idea what that looks like? Just if you don't know, what does it look like? It's a crane, right? Do cranes normally go in residential areas and park in front of cars?
Yes.
Not usually the best place to put it. This happens to be a neighbor of the sober home we opened here in American Fork, and kind of named him Biff. I think that was a good name. It kind of meets, but the frustration I think he has is that he doesn't like us in the neighborhood, and I get that. There's some misunderstanding. There's some stigma around that. This behavior was a little extreme, yeah, and it wasn't even one of our clients. It was a friend, so even worse. However, we did talk to the police department. We did ask, what do you recommend we do? Like, this guy's done things like this. And what they told us, well, first of all, they didn't tell us much, but one officer did respond, and he said, well, you can catch more flies with honey than you can with vinegar. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard that before, and I thought, well, how do we apply that in a situation? How do we give back to this community and help curb some of the misunderstanding about people in recovery? So let's figure that out. How do we do that? Education. It's all around education. A friend of mine that's here helped me understand this a little better even this week as I was venting some of my frustrations with Biff, and we have another one who's like deemed Roseanne, a little passive aggressive. And Roseanne told me a few things even this week about the frustration with the neighborhood. And one of my prior clients, he's a really good guy, won't say his name, we'll just call him Bill. Nice made up fake name, good name. He's a guy who's lived his life full of difficult times. He was homeless for almost 30 years. And to stay homeless and alive for 30 years is a pretty massive achievement in itself. This guy's had the world that's just gone horrible against him, lots of bad things, lots of trauma, lots of abuse. He had a really bad construction accident where he got knocked off of a 2-story building and broke his back and broke his neck, hooked on opiates from there, downward spiral. Story we've heard a lot, right? This guy also has a limp, and when we moved in the neighborhood over here, he said, well, how can we work with the neighbors? And I told him, let's just try to be really kind, and when someone goes low, we'll go high. Michelle Obama quote I learned this week, so those of you who have heard it. And he agreed to not respond to Biff or anyone else in the neighborhood that may be giving him trouble. And mind, he's got a limp because of his troubles, and one of the things he wanted to do to help respect the neighbors was smoke away from the property because the neighbors didn't want to see smoke. So he'd walk out towards the end of the road and come back, and the neighborhood kids, this is what I was told this week, had given him the name of Darth Vader. So I guess his hoodie and his lamp was enough to give him that tag. But he giggled and he entertained it, that it was okay to make fun of this man. And it made me sad because they have children that are feeding this stigma and making it okay to be that way. And one of the pieces that makes me the saddest is this Bill. One of his core beliefs that he developed over the years was people equal poop. You know, a little bit more explicit than that. But that was a core belief he developed. And he was starting to move away from that belief. And then, you know, Biff drove his truck really close to him, really slow, and kind of did a little jog towards him. And he, everything he could not to yell and scream, you know. So he had to stop walking to the road. Anyway, I go all day along that, and I don't want that to be the discussion. I don't want to feed that piece, because that's not the honey, that's more the vinegar. So let's go to the next piece, will you? Thank you. So how do we educate? A couple pieces I love that's already going on in this community. I don't know if anyone's heard of Unique. Anyone heard of Unique? Big billboards, a beautiful girl in a giant building. Good thing she doesn't have acne, you know. They have a campaign where they go around and they say no more 1 in 4. And that's kind of what it stands for. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 12. That's a common thread. There's a lot of common threads, and these threads also apply often in addiction as well as mental illness. So education is key. And then what do we get? It's out there now. Hashtag me too. That's getting bigger. You want to do the next one for me? So we're starting to spread awareness that this is not the way. That we need to help people stand up for themselves in a right way. We got to move away from the I don't know. This is an example I'll share real quick. We got to move away from that person who can just say whatever they want because they're old, or you know, the granny that just says something super racist. You're like, well, they grew up in a different time. Like that's not fair anymore. We have to look at how do we spread the good word. Does anyone know what this one is? The R word? What that one stands for? Yeah, and that's one that in the 80s and 90s was, geez, man, that's just a common word, along with a few others that we don't say anymore. This campaign was started for helping children with disabilities to not be stigmatized anymore. You flip that next one. So this is my little guy, my Israel. He's my little rock. He also is a child with Down syndrome, and he deserves. You know, he's a good boy. He deserves to be seen for what he is and not what he isn't. And one of his teachers, who I love to death, her name is Kay Beck. She's going to be speaking at our next event. She helped me understand that you have to look at what someone can do and not what they can't do. Stop seeing their disability and seeing their ability. And one example she really showed me up on is one day I took him to class. He's got this backpack, and he comes and hands it to me. Hey, Dad, you want something in my backpack? And I'm like, sure, son. And she's like, no, stop it. He can do it himself. And I'm like, really? I've never seen him undo his backpack. He's always fumbling it and jogging it. So he's like, sure. Goes over, unzips it perfectly, takes out his homework, hands the teacher. I'm like, I didn't know he could do that. And then he goes and hands me the backpack. She's like, no, he can put it away too and hang it on the hook and everything. And I was guilty for seeing his inability, not his ability. So that's the message that we need to keep carrying and going forward in addiction recovery, as well as any stigma that's still affecting us. So here's some common hashtags that are going and some less common ones that are kind of promoting healing out there. I'm not going to go over all of them, but these are just a few that are out there. And this is just the start. Where it really needs to change is the programs, the systems, everything about the way it's done. So community needs to change their perception, and we need to be a part of that. There's lots of ways that it's already being done, and it can be done better. And a few, let's go ahead to the next one. A few that I really like right now, I'll go over with you in a second, but one is Building Beginnings, and we got some of their love here today. I just want to share something that I learned from them that I'm really impressed by, is they have provided many opportunities for people to work in recovery that don't have opportunities like others. From what I've seen and talking to one of the owners, I asked him, well, how are you guys doing it? Because you have like 1 million employees, and how do you provide jobs for all these people and helping all these people? And he told me, he said, you know what, we're not really making very much money. However, our guys and their families had a good Christmas for the first time in a long time. And I'm so grateful for that kind of connection, that type of community that is being built. So that's one of those affordable solutions, but they can't do it alone. There's so many people who need help. So we need to create more of these type of programs and really rise up those ones that are doing it. Another program that I really like, and there's many of them out there, and I don't know all of them, Phoenix Multisport. I don't know if anyone's heard of that before. They're based out of Colorado. They do athletic events 3 times a day. So if you like softball, there's a softball game going. If you like rock climbing, there's a rock climbing event going. And their sobriety rates are just killing it. They're doing incredibly well. So along that line, we're also creating and trying to foster a program called Foster 50 that's similar to Phoenix Multisport, but a little bit different. And if Mary wants to, we'll give her a minute to talk about that towards the end as well. So we talked about already. Let's do one more. And this is kind of the big shift that I want to help make, and a piece that I believe in, is that rehabs and existing programs need to foster unity, not tribalism. We need to connect and help each other. If someone needs treatment and we don't have a good fit, we help them get a good fit. If we know of a resource or a program, we help them get a resource or a program. And the first question we should not be asking is, well, do you have insurance? Or how much money do you have? I know that's part of the business, that you have to fund your programs. I do too, but we have to be smart. We have to help people. This is a people healing business first, 100%. And if we have a good unity, we can connect with other companies. And I think if Dan's put in so much work, and I don't want to take his time because this is really about him and the other speakers, he's got space on 10,000 beds where he's reaching out, helping people. He's the founder of Quitters Prosper, helping people that just don't have those opportunities, and so much more. So we've got to be creative and think of how do you live united in this treatment model. This is kind of the piece that, these numbers vary depending on who you ask, but there's around 50 million Americans who are struggling with addiction right now, and only around 6% have the resources or the means to get treatment in the current models that are out there. That's not enough. That's a big, giant fail for us in America, that if we're only helping 6%, we need to really focus on that 94% and expand those programs like Building Beginnings, Phoenix Multisport, creative ones that you're all thinking of already or already engaged with, I just don't know about. We need to make them mainstream and unify and really find ways to help that 94%. That's where the focus needs to be. We need the next 10-year-old genius to think of some great ideas, the next whoever to come up with it, and really push those forward. This is kind of the last step, and I know we like steps, so we're doing steps because we all understand step 1. There's probably 75 steps, but we're going to stop at step 6. And the outward mindset is really looking at each person we're helping with a non-cookie cutter approach. What does this person need? How can we truly help them? And this applies in all areas of mental health and behavioral health. What does this person need, really, really need? And I'll share one quick example of that, and then I'm going to be done because I'm taking too much time. There was a police force back east that they were cracking down on crime and busting down doors, and the violence was outrageously high. And they decided, well, we got to do something different because this isn't working. We're causing all kinds of problems. So what they did differently is they trained the police officers into looking at the people's needs before their wants. So they busted down this one house, and there's a baby crying, and there's moms flipping out, and all these people are running around. And the police officers, they could have arrested and done something, but they didn't. Instead, one of the police officers went and made a baby bomb. warmed it up, got it ready, took it out to the mom, handed it to the baby, and said, here, your baby really needs a break. You need a break too. And they sat down and had a conversation, not an arrest. And that community changed the way they saw things. They had an outward mindset of how, and over the course of a few years, people started defending their police officers when crime started happening, because those police officers were people first minded. I'll end with that. Thank you for your time.